Hello. Let's start off with our basic Pali sentence. Naro, naring, pasati. The man sees the woman. We have our subject noun, naro, the man. We know it's the subject because it ends in o, which is the nominative case. And the direct object of the verb is naring, the woman, which is in accusative case. And finally, there's the verb, which is at the end of the sentence, which is how it usually is in Pali. So that's a simple sentence. The two cases, nominative and accusative, identify the subject and the object of the verb. And putting these things together, we can read many Pali sentences. Well, that's great, but now you may ask, what happens if there's more than one man? Or if more than one woman is seen? Well, in this video, we're going to look at how Pali makes the third person plural. But first, let's recap some things. So the first thing, as we've just seen, is that nouns change their ending depending on their grammatical function. This process is called declension, and it's from the case that the noun is declined in that we can tell whether it's playing the role of subject or object of the verb. Now, as you might have guessed, the ending of the noun also changes depending on number, i.e. if it's singular or if it's plural, if it's referring to one thing or to many things. So if we go into a bit more detail, noun stems, and by that I mean the form of the noun before any ending has been added, well, they can be grouped in one of two ways. Either by their gender, which can be male, neuter, or female, or by the letter which the noun stem ends in. And in Pali, this is either a long or a short version of a, I, and u. There are some consonant endings, but today we're going to ignore these. So, putting this together, to decline a male noun stem, which ends in the vowel a, into the nominative singular, we replace the vowel ending the stem with the letter o. A neuter noun ending in I would become ing, and a feminine noun ending e would remain the same. Well, that's the nominative singular. Now if we want to form a noun in the plural nominative, we have to use the plural endings. For male stems ending in a, the plural nominative becomes a long a. But with neuter and female nouns, there are variant endings, with ini and io being the most common. Well, that's a lot of information. So let's look at some examples. If we take our three noun stems, nara, man, aki, I, and nari, woman, to place them in nominative singular, we add the nominative singular endings to form the words naro, aking, and nari. And in the same way, if we want to form the plural, we have to add the plural nominative endings, thus forming nara, akini, and nario. So that's nouns in the nominative case, which would be the subject of the verb. And if we want to form the accusative, we have to use the accusative endings. In the singular, we shorten the vowel and add an ang to get narang, aking, and naring. And of course, to form the plural accusative, we add on the plural endings. The neuter and female accusative endings are the same as the nominative, but for the masculine, nara becomes nare. Okay, so that's how nouns in Pali are made plural, but that's not all there is to it. In Pali, verbs must match their subject in both person and number, which means they must also take a plural ending. As we've seen, verbs in the present tense take different endings depending on person, I, you, or he, she, or it. For instance, ahang pasami, I see, tvang pasasi, you see, and so pasati, he sees. In this way, the verb is made to agree in person with the subject, whether it's first, second, or third person. If the subject is I, the verb ends me. If it's you, it ends si. And if it's anything else, he, she, it, a place, a name, it will end in the third person, ti. And these are the singular endings when the subject is singular. And yes, as you might have guessed, there's another set of verb endings for the plural. So again, if we take some simple sentences, notice that the pronouns change because they're now plural. Mayang pasama, we see. Tumhe pasata, you see. Te pasanti, they see. So don't worry too much about the pronouns. What we're interested in here is how the verb endings change between singular and plural, especially the third person, as this gets used a lot. So if we look at some more verbs as examples, now this changing of verb ending is termed conjugation. And if we compare the singular and the plural in third person verbs, we can see that the singular ends in ti and the plural is just unti. Pasati, he sees, becomes pasanti, they see. Puchati, he asks, becomes puchanti, they ask. And hoti, the verb to be, or he is, becomes honti, they are. So this is actually a very quick look at verb conjugation. But given this, we can now start forming plural sentences. Let's start first with some singular sentences. Aking pasati, the eye sees. Naro pachati, the man asks. And nari hoti, the woman is. So notice it's the ending of the noun which determines its grammatical function. Here the nouns are in nominative case because they're the subject of the verb. And both the verb and the noun are singular. The verb is said to agree with its subject in both number and person, so here the verb is singular and in third person. And by that I mean that the man, the woman, and the I, all these nouns are in third person. They're neither I nor you. And this is a really important part of Pali. The verb must always agree in number and person with its subject noun. Okay, so let's swap these now for plural verbs and make some sentences. Akhini pasanti, the eyes see. Nara pachanti, the men ask. Nario honti, the women are. So again, the nouns take the nominative endings because they're the subject of the verb. But this time they take the plural endings. And in the same way, the verbs also must take the plural endings because they must match their subjects in both person and number. So when we say that a verb agrees with its subject in person and number, what we mean is if the subject is third person and in the plural, then the verb ending must also be third person plural. Finally, let's look at our singular and plural sentences side by side. So now we can see that when a sentence is plural, both the noun and the verb endings change. This actually happens in English too, but in Pali it's much more clear. Naro pachati, the man asks, becomes Nara pachanti, the men ask. Notice that subtle change in the English sentence, where the noun changes from man to men, but also the verb changes from asks to ask. So in English too, the verb and its subject agree in both person and number. Well, this tutorial has covered many things, so let's recap the important points. The endings of nouns depend on their function in the sentence, and also how many there are. This morphing of noun endings is called declension, and noun stems decline based on case and number. And a really important rule in Pali is that the verbs will always agree with their subject noun in both person and number. So if the subject is plural, the verb will also take the plural ending. A third-person verb, that is, where the subject is anything other than the pronouns I and you, will end in "unti." So when you see this ending, you know that the verb is third-person plural, and so the subject will also be the noun in third-person plural.